guys, it's Miss Katelyn from the Bradley Public Library, and I am here to read for tonight's Pajama Storytime. Special shout out to Simon & Schuster for allowing us to read these books and record it. And we're going to get started. Our first book is called Dinosaurs Love Underpants. And it's written by Claire Friedman and illustrated by Ben Court. Get oriented. There we go. Dinosaurs were all wiped out a long way back in history. No one knows quite how or why. Now this book solves the mystery. It all began when cavemen felt embarrassed in the nude, so someone dreamed up underpants to stop them from looking crude. The dinosaurs roamed everywhere, all teeth and huge long necks, but scariest and meanest was Tyrannosaurus Rex. When T-Rex saw a man's undies, he roared with deafening rants. "I don't want to eat you up, I want your underpants!" T-Rex stole a furry pair, but his briefs quickly ripped. He couldn't get them past his feet. Oh, whoops! Watch out! He tripped! Triceratops was happy, wearing undies on every horn, till Styracosaurus snatched them and they ended up all torn. The pants from woolly mammoth coats made Stegosaurus itchy. Diplodocus was really mad. His briefs were way too pinchy. "We're running low on underpants," the caveman quaked in shock. "These dinos are undies crazy. They've completely run amok." Soon undies were flying everywhere, all torn by tooth and claw. The dinosaurs were fighting in a great briefs tug of war. The mighty underpants war raged all night. Thump, pow, bash, thwack, clout! The fighting got so crazy, all the dinos were wiped out. The next day, out the cavemen crept and cheered at what they saw. "Hooray! Our biggest enemy is now at last no more!" So when you put your undies on, always treat them with great care. Don't forget, briefs saved mankind. They're not just underwear. The end. My next book is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It's written by Judy Beret and drawn by Ron Beret. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we each could eat, and Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something flew through the air, headed toward the kitchen ceiling, and landed right on Henry. After we realized that the flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he'd ever told. Across an ocean, over lots of huge bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses with trees and gardens around them, a schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. But there were no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain, it never snowed snow, and it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice, it snowed mashed potatoes and green peas, and sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. If there were leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, frankenfurters, already in their rolls, blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. There were mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops, becoming heavy at times, with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by gradual clearing, with a wonderful jello setting in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. It had to remove the food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of it into the surrounding oceans for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for the people's flower gardens. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worse. One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. The next day there was only broccoli, all overcooked. And the next day there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Another day there was a pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. One Tuesday there was a hurricane of bread rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some with seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye and whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they had ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged, and the sanitation department was beside itself. The mess took the workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, the people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off because of its weight, so they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomach ache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind accompanied by an even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs, stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. It was a matter of survival. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread sandwich style with peanut butter, took the absolute necessities with them, and set sail on their rafts for a new land. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town which welcomed them. The bread had held up surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and the adults all tried to find places for themselves in the new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. They found it odd that the food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs. No one ever got hit by a hamburger again, and nobody dared to go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened to it. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sledding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top, and we could almost smell mashed potatoes. There's the mashed potatoes, there's the butter. The end. Our last book for the night is called Milk and Cookies, and it's written by Frank Ash. One winter day, the Bear family went to visit Grandma and Grandpa. When it got to be late, too late to go home, Grandma made up the couch for them in the living room. "Good night," said Grandma and Grandpa. "Good night," said Mama and Papa. "Good night," said Baby Bear, and they all went to sleep. In the middle of the night, Baby Bear heard a noise and woke up. Then he saw a strange red light coming from under the cellar door. He climbed out of bed and tiptoed to the door to see what it was. He didn't want to make any noise, so he just peeked through the keyhole. What he saw looked like a giant dragon with flames shooting from its mouth. Grandpa was there feeding it. When the dragon shut its mouth, Grandpa came upstairs. "Is there anything wrong?" asked Grandpa. "No, I'm okay," said Baby Bear. "Would you like some milk and cookies?" asked Grandpa. "No, thank you," said Baby Bear, and he went back to bed. That night, Baby Bear dreamed that the cellar door opened and the dragon came upstairs. "I'm hungry," said the dragon. Baby Bear ran into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. He poured the dragon a glass of milk and opened a box of cookies. "Thank you," said the dragon. "I like milk and cookies." And he ate everything all up. He didn't save any milk or even one cookie for Baby Bear. Just then, Baby Bear woke up crying. Mama and Papa Bear woke up too. Baby Bear told them his dream. "Whatever gave you the idea that there was a dragon in the cellar?" asked Mama Bear. "I saw it," said Baby Bear. "If I come downstairs with you," asked Papa Bear, "will you show me the dragon?" "Okay," said Baby Bear, and they went downstairs. In the corner where Baby Bear thought he had seen a dragon, there was a wood stove. Papa Bear opened the door. Inside, the flames glowed brightly. "There, you see," said Papa Bear. "There's no dragon in the cellar, just an old wood stove." When they went back upstairs, Grandma and Grandpa were up. "Is everything all right?" asked Grandma. "It is now," said Papa Bear. "Good," said Grandpa. "Let's all have some milk and cookies." The end. All I have left is our poem. Are you ready? Hush, hush, little fish, we are here to make a wish. We close our eyes and then we start to make a wish with all our hearts. Good night, guys. Sweet dreams.